Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The space station hums softly, its old metal walls creaking under the weight of silence. Jack, a tall, scruffy mechanic with grease-stained hands, sat alone in his workshop. Tools littered the floor, and a dim bulb flickered above his head. The clock on the wall read midnight. Outside, the stars twinkled in the endless black of space, but Jack didn't notice. He was fixing a broken engine part, his only company the soft buzz of his tools. This small, dusty station on the edge of human territory was his home, a lonely place where ships rarely stopped. A loud crash shattered the quiet. Jack's wrench slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. His heart jumped. "What was that?" he muttered, standing up. The sound came from the docking bay, just beyond his workshop. He grabbed a flashlight, its beam shaky in his hand, and stepped toward the heavy steel door. The air felt cold, and a strange fog curled outside the window. Something wasn't right. Jack pushed the door open and stepped into the docking bay. The fog was thicker here, swirling around his boots. In the center of the bay sat a strange ship, small and sleek, its hull glowing with faint blue light. It wasn't human-made, too smooth, too alien. Scratches and dents covered its sides, like it had escaped a fight. Jack's stomach twisted. No one was supposed to be here. He tightened his grip on the flashlight and moved closer. A soft knock came from the ship's hatch. Jack froze. The knock came again, weak but desperate. Then, a voice, soft, trembling, and not quite human, cut through the silence. "Please, help us, you're the only one I can trust." Jack's breath caught in his throat. Who was this? Why him? He was just a mechanic, not a hero. His mind raced, but his feet stayed glued to the ground. The hatch creaked open before he could decide. A figure stepped out, small and frail, with shimmering blue skin that glowed faintly in the dark. It was a woman, an alien, her large eyes wide with fear. Her clothes were torn, and she clutched a small child to her chest. The child, with the same blue skin, hid his face in her shoulder, his tiny hands shaking. "Please," the woman whispered again, her voice breaking. "We have nowhere else to go." Jack's mouth went dry. He wanted to ask 100 questions. Who are you? Why are you here? What's chasing you? But the woman's eyes stopped him. They were full of pain, like she'd seen too much. The child whimpered, and Jack's heart softened. "Come inside," he said, his voice gruff but kind. "It's not safe out here." He led them into the workshop, locking the door behind them. The woman sank onto a stool, holding the child close. "My name is Lyra," she said, her voice soft but clear. "This is my son, Cale." The boy peeked at Jack, his big eyes curious but scared. Jack nodded, unsure what to say. "I'm Jack," he mumbled, setting the flashlight down. "Why are you here?" "Why me?" Lyra hesitated, glancing at the door like she expected it to burst open. "I can't tell you everything," she said. "Not yet. But we're running. From danger. You're the only one who can help us." Her words were heavy, like they carried a secret too big to share. Jack frowned. He wasn't special. He fixed ships, not problems. But something in Lyra's voice made him listen. She wasn't lying, she was terrified. Before he could ask more, a flash of light cut through the workshop's window. Jack spun around. Outside, in the foggy docking bay, two red beams blinked in the distance, moving closer. Ships. Not friendly ones. Lyra gasped, pulling Cale tighter. "They're here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Jack's pulse raced. "Who's here?" he asked, stepping toward the window. The beams grew brighter, and the low hum of engines filled the air. "They're coming for us," Lyra said, her eyes darting to the door. "Please, Jack, don't let them take us." Cale started to cry, soft sobs that made Jack's chest tighten. He didn't know these two, but he couldn't ignore their fear. He grabbed a wrench, his only weapon, and moved to the control panel by the door. "Stay quiet," he told them, his voice low. He flicked a switch to dim the workshop's lights, plunging them into shadows. The hum of the approaching ships grew louder, vibrating the floor. Jack peeked through the window. Two sleek, black ships landed in the docking bay, their red lights cutting through the fog like eyes. Doors hissed open, and dark figures stepped out, their boots heavy on the metal ground. They carried strange devices, scanning the area. Jack's heart pounded. These weren't traders or lost travelers. They were hunters. Lyra grabbed Jack's arm, her touch cold. "They'll kill us," she whispered. "They want something we have." Her eyes flicked to a small bag at her side, the strap worn and frayed. Jack noticed it for the first time. Something inside glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "What's in there?" he asked, but Lyra shook her head. "No time," she said. "Please, hide us." Jack's mind spun. He didn't know who these people were or what they wanted, but he couldn't let Lyra and Cale face them alone. He pointed to a corner of the workshop, where a stack of crates hid a small storage room. "There," he said. "Get inside. Don't make a sound." Lyra nodded, scooping up Cale and hurrying to the crates. She slipped behind them, disappearing into the dark. Jack turned back to the window. The figures were closer now, their scanners beeping loudly. One of them stopped, pointing at the workshop. Jack's stomach dropped. They knew he was here. He gripped the wrench tighter, his palms sweaty. He wasn't a fighter, but he wasn't a coward either. If they wanted Lyra and Cale, they'd have to go through him. The air grew heavy, the hum of the ships deafening. Jack's eyes darted to the control panel. He could lock the docking bay, by some time, but it wouldn't stop them forever. His thoughts raced. Why was Lyra here? What was in that bag? And why did she trust him, a nobody, to save her? A loud bang shook the workshop door. Jack jumped, his heart in his throat. The metal groaned, like something heavy was trying to break through. Lyra's voice came from the storage room, a terrified whisper, "They found us." The door shook again, harder this time. Jack backed away, the wrench trembling in his hand. The red lights outside glowed brighter, and the scanner's beeps grew faster. Whoever they weren't stopping. Jack glanced at the crates where Lyra and Cale hid. He didn't know what he was getting into, but he knew one thing: he couldn't let them down. The door rattled, and a deep voice shouted from outside, cold and sharp. "Open the door, human. We know they're here." Jack's blood ran cold. The hunters were here, and time was running out. The workshop was dark, the air thick with tension. Jack stood frozen, his wrench gripped tightly, as the heavy bangs on the door echoed through the space station. The hunters outside shouted again, their voices cold and sharp. "Open the door, human. We know they're here." Jack's heart pounded like a drum. Behind the crates in the corner, Lyra and her son Cale hid, their breaths quiet but shaky. The faint glow from Lyra's bag pulsed in the shadows, catching Jack's eye. Whatever was in there, it was important and dangerous. Jack forced himself to move. He whispered to the crates, "Stay quiet. Don't come out." Lyra's wide eyes peeked through a gap, nodding slightly. Cale clung to her, his small face pale with fear. Jack turned to the control panel by the door, his fingers trembling as he punched in a code to reinforce the lock. It wouldn't hold forever, but it might buy time. The banging stopped for a moment, replaced by the sharp beep of scanners. The hunters were searching, and they were close. Jack crouched low and crept to the crates. "Lyra," he hissed, "who are they? What do they want?" His voice was low, urgent. Lyra hesitated, her blue skin shimmering faintly in the dim light. I can't tell you everything," she said, her words soft but heavy. "But they're mercenaries. They want us dead." Jack's stomach twisted. "Why?" he pressed, glancing at the door as another bang shook it. "What did you do?" Lyra's eyes dropped to Cale, who trembled in her arms. "It's not what I did," she said. "It's what my husband knew." Jack frowned, confused. "My husband, Taran, was a scientist," Lyra continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "He found something, a weapon. A secret so powerful it could destroy entire fleets. He hid it, but they killed him for it. Now they think I know where it is. She hugged Cale tighter, her hands shaking. They'll kill us to get it. Jack's mind raced. A weapon? That explained the hunters, but not why Lyra came to him. Why me? He asked again, his voice sharper now. I'm nobody. Just a mechanic. Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft but serious. Terran said there was a human here, on this station, who could be trusted. Someone kind, not like the others. He said your name, Jack. Jack's jaw tightened. He didn't know any Terran. How could an alien scientist know him? It didn't make sense. The glowing bag at Lyra's side pulsed again, brighter this time. Jack pointed at it. What's in there? He asked. Lyra's hand moved protectively over the bag. It's important, she said, her voice shaky. It's why they're chasing us. Jack wanted to push for answers, but a loud crash interrupted him. The door buckled slightly, metal groaning under the force. The mercenaries were done waiting. Move! Jack whispered, pulling Lyra and Cale deeper into the storage room behind the crates. It was small, cluttered with old parts and boxes, but it had a second door leading to the station's back corridors. Jack shoved a heavy crate in front of the entrance to slow the hunters down. Stay here, he said, his voice firm. I'll figure this out. Lyra grabbed his arm, her touch cold but strong. Thank you, Jack, she whispered. Cale looked up, his big eyes wet. Don't let them get us, he said, his voice tiny. Jack's heart clenched. He nodded, unable to speak. He slipped out of the storage room and locked it behind him. The workshop was still dark, but the banging on the main door was louder now, joined by the hum of a cutting tool. Sparks flew from the door's edge, lighting up the room in flashes. Jack's pulse raced. He needed a plan. His eyes scanned the workshop, landing on an old control box on the wall. It ran the station's alarms. If he could set off a fake alert in another part of the station, it might distract the mercenaries. Jack ran to the box, his hands fumbling with the wires. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew machines. His fingers moved fast, rerouting power to trigger an alarm in the far docking bay. A loud siren blared, its wail echoing through the station. Red lights flashed outside, and Jack heard the mercenaries shout to each other. Over there, one growled. Heavy boots stomped away from the workshop, their scanners beeping as they moved toward the fake alarm. Jack let out a shaky breath. It worked, for now. He hurried back to the storage room and tapped on the door. Lyra, it's me, he whispered. The door creaked open, and Lyra's scared face appeared. Are they gone? She asked. Not for long, Jack said. We need to move. Is there somewhere safe we can go? Lyra shook her head. Nowhere, she said. They'll find us anywhere. Her eyes flicked to the glowing bag again, and Jack's frustration grew. What's in that bag? He demanded. If I'm risking my life, I need to know. Lyra hesitated, then reached into the bag. She pulled out a small, round device, no bigger than a fist. It glowed with a soft, pulsing light, like a tiny star. This is a key, she said. To Terran's lab. It's hidden, far from here. The weapons plans are there. Jack stared at the device, his mind spinning. A key to a weapon that could destroy fleets? No wonder the mercenaries wanted it. Why not destroy it? He asked. Lyra's face hardened. Because it's all I have left of him, she said. And it might save my people. Before Jack could respond, a sharp beep cut through the air. The mercenary scanners were back, closer now. They'd figured out the alarm was a trick. Jack grabbed Lyra's arm. We can't stay here, he said. He led them out of the storage room, through the back door, and into the station's dark corridors. The walls were cold, the air heavy with dust. Cale clung to Lyra's hand, his small steps quick and quiet. The corridor stretched ahead, dimly lit by flickering lights. Jack's mind raced. He had an old ship in the docking bay, one he'd been fixing for years. It wasn't perfect, but it might fly. If they could reach it, they could escape. This way, he whispered, leading them toward the bay. But as they turned a corner, a scanner's beep echoed behind them, loud and fast. Jack's heart sank. The mercenaries were close, their heavy boots pounding the floor. Lyra's hand tightened on the glowing device, her face pale. Cale looked up at Jack, his eyes wide. "Are we safe?" he asked, his voice trembling. Jack wanted to say yes, but the beeping grew louder, closer. He gripped the wrench in his pocket, his jaw tight. "Not yet," he said. The corridor shook as the mercenaries' steps grew nearer, their scanners locking onto the signal from Lyra's device. Time was running out, and Jack had to make a choice, fight or run. The dark corridor of the space station buzzed with danger. Jack led Lyra and her son Cale through the shadows, their footsteps soft but quick. The mercenaries' scanners beeped behind them, sharp and fast, echoing off the cold metal walls. Lyra clutched the glowing device in her hand, its light faint but steady. Cale held her other hand, his small face tight with fear. Jack's heart raced. The hunters were close, and the station's cramped halls offered no place to hide. Jack stopped at a junction, his breath heavy. He knew these corridors like his own workshop, but they led to dead ends or open bays where the mercenaries could spot them. "We need to get to my ship," he whispered, glancing back. The beeping grew louder, joined by the heavy thud of boots. Lyra's blue eyes widened. "A ship?" she asked, hope flickering in her voice. Jack nodded. "It's old, not finished, but it might fly." Cale looked up, his voice tiny. "Will it save us?" Jack forced a small smile. "I'll try, kid." He led them down a narrow side passage, toward the secondary docking bay where his ship sat. The passage was tight, lined with rusty pipes that hissed softly. Jack's mind spun. The ship hadn't flown in years, its engine half-built, its hull patched with scraps. But it was their only chance. The mercenaries' voices echoed now, low and angry. "The signal's close," one growled. Jack's stomach twisted. The glowing device in Lyra's hand was leading them straight to her. "Lyra," Jack hissed, "that thing, it's giving us away." Lyra's hand tightened around the device, her face pale. "I can't turn it off," she said. "It's the key to my husband's lab. We need it." Jack frowned. "What's in that lab?" he asked, keeping his voice low as they moved. Lyra hesitated, then spoke softly. "Terran's work. The weapons plans. If we lose this key, his death was for nothing." Her eyes shone with tears, but her voice was firm. Jack didn't understand it all, but he saw her pain. He nodded. "Okay. But we need to move faster." They reached the docking bay door, a heavy slab of steel with a keypad. Jack punched in the code, his fingers shaking. The door hissed open, revealing the bay beyond. His ship sat in the center, a clunky, patched-up freighter covered in dust. Its hull was dented, its lights dark, but to Jack, it was hope. "There," he said, pointing. Lyra and Cale followed him inside, the door sliding shut behind them. The bay was cold, the air stale. Jack ran to the ship's hatch and yanked it open. "Get in," he told Lyra. She climbed inside, Cale close behind. Jack followed, sealing the hatch. The ship's interior was cramped, wires dangling from the ceiling, tools scattered on the floor. Lyra looked around, her face uncertain. "Will it work?" she asked. Jack didn't answer. He didn't know. He slid into the pilot's seat and flipped switches, praying the engine would start. A loud bang shook the docking bay door. Jack's head snapped up. Through the ship's small window, he saw sparks flying from the door's edge. The mercenaries were cutting through. "They're here," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. Cale hugged her, his eyes wide. Jack's hands moved faster, checking the ship's systems. The engine sputtered, lights flickering on the control panel. "Come on," he muttered, slamming a fist on the dash. The ship groaned but didn't start. Lyra knelt beside Jack, the glowing device still in her hand. "What can I do?" she asked. Jack glanced at her. Keep Cale calm, he said. And tell me more about that lab. Lyra nodded, sitting beside Cale. Terran's lab is hidden, she said, her voice soft but clear. On an asteroid, far from here. The weapon he made, it's not just a weapon. It could protect my people, or destroy everything. I don't know what to do with it. Her words hung heavy, and Jack felt the weight of her trust. She didn't know him, but she believed in him. Cale tugged at Lyra's sleeve. Tell him about home, he said, his voice small. Lyra smiled sadly. Our planet was beautiful, she said. Blue skies, silver rivers, cities that glowed at night. Terran wanted to save it. That's why he built the weapon. Jack listened, his hands still working on the controls. Her words painted a picture, making him dream of places he'd never seen. For a moment, he wasn't just a mechanic, he was part of something bigger. The engine coughed, then roared to life. Jack let out a breath. It's working, he said. The ship's lights brightened, and the control panel hummed. Lyra's face lit up. You did it, she said. Cale clapped, his fear fading for a moment. But the joy didn't last. A loud crash echoed as the docking bay door collapsed. Jack looked out the window. Dark figures stormed in, their scanners glowing red, locking onto the ship. They see us, Lyra said, her voice tight. Jack's jaw clenched. He pushed the throttle, but the ship moved slowly, its systems still warming up. The mercenaries raised their weapons, beams of light flashing across the bay. One hit the ship's hull, rocking it. Cale screamed, and Lyra pulled him close. Hold on! Jack shouted, flipping more switches. The ship lurched forward, scraping the bay floor as it gained speed. Jack glanced at a small screen on the dash, showing a camera feed from the bay. The mercenaries were running toward their own ships, sleek and fast. They'll chase us, he said, his voice grim. Lyra nodded, her hand on the glowing device. We need to reach the lab, she said. It's our only chance. Jack didn't know what waited at the lab, but he knew they couldn't stay here. He pushed the ship harder, its engines groaning as it cleared the bay and shot into space. The stars stretched before them, bright and endless. Jack's hands gripped the controls, his heart still racing. Where's this asteroid? He asked. Lyra pulled the device closer, its light pulsing faster. I'll show you, she said. But we have to hurry. Cale looked at Jack, his small voice breaking the silence. You're brave, like my dad, he said. Jack's chest tightened. He didn't feel brave, but Cale's words pushed him forward. The ship shook as a warning light flashed on the dash. Jack checked the screen. The mercenary ships were behind them, gaining fast. Their scanners locked onto the glowing device, beeping louder than ever. Jack's eyes narrowed. They're not giving up, he said. Lyra's face was pale, but her voice was steady. Neither are we. The ship sped into the dark, the hunters close behind, and Jack knew the real fight was just beginning. The old freighter roared through space, its engines groaning under the strain. Jack gripped the controls, his knuckles white, as stars blurred past the cockpit window. Behind him, Lyra sat with Cale, her blue skin glowing faintly in the dim light. The glowing device in her hand pulsed like a heartbeat, guiding them toward her husband's hidden lab. But the mercenary ships were close, their sleek black hulls visible on the ship's rear screen. Red warning lights flashed on the dash, and a sharp beep filled the cockpit. They were being targeted. Hold on! Jack shouted, yanking the controls. The ship swerved, diving into a dense asteroid field. Massive rocks tumbled through the dark, some as big as houses, others sharp and jagged. A laser blast from the mercenaries grazed the hull, rocking the ship. Cale yelped, clinging to Lyra. Are they going to catch us? He asked, his voice small. Jack glanced back, forcing a grin. Not if I can help it, kid. But his stomach churned. The ship wasn't built for this, and the mercenaries were faster. Lyra leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the glowing device. We're close, she said, her voice tight. The lab's in this field, hidden on an asteroid. Jack nodded, dodging a spinning rock that scraped the ship's side. Sparks flew across the hull, and a warning siren blared. "How close?" he asked, his eyes darting between the asteroids and the screen. The mercenaries fired again, their shots lighting up the dark. Lyra tapped the device, its light pulsing faster. "Minutes," she said. "Just keep us alive." Jack's hands moved fast, weaving the ship through the field. He wasn't a pilot by trade, but years of fixing ships gave him a feel for them. The freighter dipped and rolled, narrowly missing a boulder that could have crushed them. The mercenaries followed, their ship sleek and nimble, closing the gap. A loud ping echoed as their scanners locked on. "They've got us," Jack muttered, his jaw tight. Lyra's face paled. "The device," she said. "It's sending a signal. They can track it." Jack cursed under his breath. "Can you turn it off?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "Not if we want to find the lab." She hesitated, then added, "I sent a signal to open the lab's doors. It's ready for us." Jack's eyes narrowed. "But it's telling them where we are, too." Lyra nodded, her lips pressed tight. "I had no choice." Jack didn't like it, but he kept flying, dodging another asteroid as a laser blast exploded nearby. The ship shook, and Kale cried out. Lyra pulled him close, whispering soft words in a language Jack didn't know. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were scared. Jack glanced at them, his chest tight. He didn't know Lyra or her son, but their fear felt real. He pushed the ship harder, its engines screaming. The asteroid field grew denser, rocks spinning faster, but Jack's hands were steady. He'd fixed this ship with his own hands. He trusted it, even if it was falling apart. "Lyra," Jack said, his voice low. "Tell me about this weapon. What are we risking our lives for?" Lyra's eyes met his, heavy with doubt. "Terran's weapon," she said, "it's a crystal. Small, but powerful. It can stop wars or start them. It could save my people or destroy yours." Jack's grip tightened on the controls. "And you don't know what to do with it?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "I don't trust anyone with it. Not even," her voice trailed off, and she looked away. Jack's heart sank. "Not even me," he finished. Lyra didn't answer, but her silence said enough. He felt a sting of doubt. Was she using him? Did she really trust him, or was he just a way to escape? Kale's small voice broke the tension. "I trust you, Jack," he said, his big eyes shining. Jack swallowed hard, nodding. "Thanks, kid," he said, turning back to the controls. He didn't have time for doubt. Not now. A loud thud shook the ship, and the lights flickered. "What was that?" Lyra gasped. Jack checked the screen. One of the mercenary ships had fired a tractor beam, its green light wrapping around the freighter. The ship slowed, engines whining as they fought the pull. "They're dragging us back," Jack shouted, slamming the throttle. The engines roared, but the beam held tight. Asteroids loomed closer, and a small one clipped the wing, sending sparks across the cockpit. Kale screamed, and Lyra grabbed the seat, her face pale. "Jack, do something," she cried. Jack's mind raced. The tractor beam was strong, but he knew this ship. He flicked a switch, rerouting power to the rear shields. The ship lurched, breaking free for a moment, but the beam locked on again. "Come on," Jack muttered, his hands flying over the controls. He diverted power from the lights, plunging the cockpit into near darkness. The engine surged, and the ship shot forward, weaving through the asteroids. The mercenaries fired, their shots missing by inches. Jack spotted a massive asteroid ahead, its surface rough and pitted. "Hold tight," he said, aiming for it. Lyra's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" she asked. Jack didn't answer. He flew close to the asteroid, scraping the hull against its side. The tractor beam flickered, disrupted by the rock's mass. With a final push, the ship broke free, diving into a narrow gap between two boulders. The mercenaries followed, but their ships were too big for the tight space. One clipped an asteroid, spinning out of control. Jack grinned, his heart pounding. Got him, he said. But the second ship was still behind, its weapons charging. Lyra tapped the device, its light now steady. There, she said, pointing to a small asteroid ahead. A faint glow marked its surface, a hidden door. That's the lab, she said. Jack aimed for it, but the mercenary ship fired again. A direct hit rocked the freighter, and a panel sparked above Cale's head. He screamed, covering his face. Lyra shielded him, her eyes desperate. Jack, we're not going to make it, she shouted. Jack's jaw clenched. Yes, we are, he said, pushing the ship to its limit. The engine screamed, and the asteroid's door grew closer. But the mercenary scanner beeped louder, locking on for a final shot. The ship shook as another warning light flashed. Jack glanced at the screen. The mercenary was right behind, its weapons glowing red. Lyra's hand tightened on the device, her face set. We're so close, she whispered. Cale's sobs filled the cockpit, and Jack's heart raced. The lab was their only hope, but the hunters weren't giving up. With one hand on the controls, Jack braced for the next hit, knowing the chase was far from over. The freighter shuddered as it sped toward the asteroid's glowing door, the hidden entrance to Terran's lab. Jack's hands gripped the controls, sweat beading on his forehead. Behind them, the mercenary ship fired, its laser grazing the hull. Sparks flew across the cockpit, and Cale screamed, huddling against Lyra. Her blue skin shimmered with fear, but her eyes stayed fixed on the glowing device in her hand. We're almost there, she shouted. The door loomed closer, but so did the mercenaries. A loud bang rocked the ship. They hit us! Jack yelled, checking the dash. Warning lights flashed red, engines failing, hull breached. The freighter couldn't take another shot. Jack's heart pounded. We're not dying here, he muttered, pushing the throttle to its limit. The engine screamed, and the ship lurched forward, scraping through the asteroid's narrow door just as another laser blasted past. The door slammed shut behind them, sealing out the mercenaries. The ship skidded across a smooth metal floor, crashing into a wall with a deafening crunch. The cockpit went dark, smoke curling from the controls. Jack coughed, his head spinning. Everyone okay? He asked, his voice hoarse. Lyra nodded, clutching Cale, who whimpered but seemed unhurt. We made it, she whispered, her voice shaky with relief. Jack unbuckled and climbed out, his legs wobbly. They were in a vast, dimly lit chamber, Terran's lab. Strange machines lined the walls, humming softly, their lights casting eerie shadows. In the center stood a pedestal, holding a small, glowing crystal that pulsed like a star. Lyra gasped, her eyes wide. That's it, she said. The weapon. Jack stared at it, his chest tight. So small, yet so powerful. It could save worlds or destroy them. Lyra set Cale down and approached the pedestal, the glowing device in her hand still pulsing. This key unlocks the crystal's power, she said. But I want to destroy it. It's too dangerous. Jack frowned, stepping closer. Wait, he said. What if we need it? Humanity's got enemies. This could protect us. Lyra's eyes met his, full of doubt. Or it could start wars, she said. Terran died to keep it hidden. I can't let it fall into the wrong hands. Before Jack could argue, a loud explosion shook the lab. The sealed door glowed red, buckling under heavy blasts. They're here! Cale cried, running to Lyra. Jack spun around, his heart racing. The mercenaries had followed them, cutting through the asteroid's door. We're out of time, he said, scanning the lab. His eyes landed on a control panel by the pedestal, its screen flickering with alien symbols. Lyra, can you read that? He asked. Lyra rushed to the panel, her fingers flying over the controls. It's the lab's defense system, she said. But it's old, damaged. Jack joined her, his mechanic's instincts kicking in. I can fix it, he said, pulling wires and rerouting power. Sparks flew, but the screen brightened, showing options in Terran's language. Lyra translated, her voice urgent. We can set the lab to self-destruct. It'll take the crystal and the mercenaries with it. Jack's stomach twisted. And us? He asked. Lyra's face was grim. There's an escape pod in the back. We might make it. The door glowed brighter, metal screeching as it began to give way. Jack nodded. Do it, he said. Lyra hesitated, then pressed a button. A countdown appeared on the screen, red symbols flashing. 10 minutes, she said. We need to move. The door exploded inward, and dark figures stormed in, their weapons raised. Give us the crystal, one shouted, his voice cold. Jack grabbed a metal pipe from the floor, standing between the mercenaries and Lyra. Stay back, he yelled. Lyra scooped up Kale and ran toward the back of the lab, where a small hatch marked the escape pod. Jack swung the pipe, knocking a weapon from a mercenary's hand. The others fired, beams sizzling past him. Jack ducked behind a machine, his heart pounding. He wasn't a fighter, but he couldn't let them reach Lyra. He grabbed a loose cable and yanked it, sending sparks across the floor. The mercenaries stumbled, blinded for a moment. Jack ran, catching up to Lyra as she opened the pod's hatch. Get in, he shouted. Lyra pushed Kale inside, but a mercenary grabbed her arm, pulling her back. The crystal, he growled. Jack tackled the mercenary, knocking him to the ground. Lyra broke free, clutching the glowing device. She looked at the pedestal, then at Jack. Take it, she said, tossing him the crystal. You're the only one I trust. Jack caught it, the crystal warm in his hand. Its light pulsed, heavy with power. He shoved it into his pocket and pushed Lyra into the pod. Go, he yelled, slamming the hatch shut. The countdown blared, 5 minutes left. Jack climbed into the pod, a cramped space with barely enough room for 3. He hit the launch button, and the pod shot out of the asteroid, tumbling into space. Behind them, the lab exploded in a brilliant flash, the shockwave rocking the pod. Kale screamed, and Lyra held him tight. Jack gripped the controls, steering through the debris. The mercenary ships were gone, destroyed in the blast. The pod drifted, stars stretching endlessly around them. Jack's hands shook, the crystal heavy in his pocket. Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft. You saved us, she said. Kale smiled, his fear fading. You're our hero, he said. Jack's chest warmed, but his mind raced. The crystal was safe, for now. But its power scared him. He didn't know if he could trust himself with it, let alone anyone else. Where to? Jack asked, his voice quiet. Lyra glanced at Kale, then at the stars. A human colony, she said. Somewhere safe. We'll start over. Jack nodded, setting a course. The pod hummed, carrying them toward a new life. He pulled the crystal from his pocket, its light steady now. What do we do with this? He asked. Lyra's face was calm. Hide it, she said. Until we know what's right. Jack tucked the crystal away, his jaw tight. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew one thing, he'd protect Lyra and Kale, no matter what. The stars glowed brighter, and for the first time, Jack felt like more than a mechanic. He was a guardian, a hero, ready for whatever came next. As the pod sailed on, Lyra rested a hand on his shoulder. Thank you, Jack, she said. You're our family now. Kale nodded, his eyes bright. Jack smiled, looking out at the endless stars. The galaxy was big, full of dangers and dreams. And he was ready to face them all.